Hello everybody and welcome back to the NLC. My name is still Wida and I am joined by the Verdant coach, Dan Holt. Hello Dan, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
First of all, congratulations on your 2-0 victory. I'm good. That must also have felt good.
Yeah, it was nice to get a really good start to the week. I think the way we did it as well was really nice. Two pretty clean games with some mistakes here and there that we need to make sure that we're improving, and a lot to improve on as well. I don't think it was a perfect week, so yeah, it was good. It was good.
Speaking of mistakes, I did say victory meant week 1, obviously, as well, in case some people out there were lacking the context of that. So, you spent, I believe, like a year in total, or even more time with Verdant now as their head coach. Does that kind of stability really help you do your job well?
Yeah, I think you've got that bit wrong. Could have asked me before and I would have told you. But yeah, I was with you. I've been with Verdant since 2021, different roles. I started as assistant coach, was head coach for that split, the head coach had to leave. And then the following split, I was assistant coach, and then took over for sort of halfway through the split and then relegations. And then for summer, so summer 22. And then last year, obviously, I was much more in the background. On the playing side, it was all up to Tom, and obviously did a really good job, excellent job. And bypassed everyone's expectations, got to UM. It was really nice to see from a fan's perspective, So yes, I've been with the org for a while, but like a few different roles.
Awesome. Love a bit of an overall understanding of how everything works on the background here. And so a last quick question here about your team makeup for this split here. You have 4 Danes and a Finn. Nilla is a great top laner, but there was no like Danish equivalent of him in terms of being able to get full-on Danish comps, for example.
Sure. I'm a bit confused. Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, sorry. So you have 4 Danes and a Finn.
Yes, yeah.
So how does that impact comms comparatively had that been 5 Danes, for example?
I don't think it affects it at all. Obviously, in League of Legends, you have to speak English if you have any idea of going pro or any sort of progression if you want to move to the bigger leagues. So everybody speaks English. It's really only friend rosters or rosters where basically that's it. Unless it's a friend roster, you're going to be speaking English. And so it doesn't really affect comms at all. They all have excellent English. Have all spoken it for a long time in their career and probably grew up in school and stuff. So no issues there at all.
As a Dane, I can attest to that. But again, sometimes you gotta get some answers out there. Also, any final things you wanna
Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC. We are here, game 4, final game day of week 2. Dude, we have got Vanir versus Verdant as the last game on the docket. How are we feeling about these teams?
We're feeling differently about these 2 teams, I'm going to be honest. We're feeling like Verdant, honestly, are off the back of a weird game yesterday, one that they lost that probably shouldn't have done. But still have the expectation for them to be a very strong team in our league. My expectation after they beat Natives was that they would just go 7-0 in the first round robin. Obviously, it's good to see that that's not been the case and that we have got other teams in the league challenging them. I think coming into this game that they are still my favourites. I think that Vanir are going to struggle quite heavily. I'm a big fan of Liam Cole down in that bot side for Vanir, but outside of that, I've been less than impressed by the rest of the team for the most part. I'm all here for showing me up, and I would love for that to happen, but I think that for the most part, Verdant on the top side specifically, just outmatch.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting place to go to Verdant because Nile hasn't been the carry for these guys this split. He really hasn't needed to, and you're going against Kitano, a player who has shown a lot of skill within the league, but I feel like we haven't really honed in on what this guy's level is. He seems to be very fond of these bruisers that can kind of take over team fights a little bit later, but Nile's going to be practiced against that because he's kind of practiced against everything.
This will be a really good litmus test, actually, for that top side, because Kitano's actually the sort of exception that gives my rule a little bit, because he's actually been performing very strongly on bruisers. It's now a question of whether or not he can do it up against who is like arguably our best top laner in the league. So a lot for Kitano to live up to today.
Yeah.
If he can pick up a carry, start actually destroying Nili, then yeah, I'm here to talk about the conversation of them being a better top side. But for the time being, it needs to be proven.
Yeah, as we are jumping into Champion Select, Verdant here on the blue side. Going to be banning away the Annie. I think that's smart. Harbo had great success on it both games in week 1 and hasn't been able to play it at all in week 2. Vanir, with a little bit...
I need to sound the alarm. The red side bans are different. The red side bans are different. Okay, Verdant, they've picked up the slack. They've gone, what's happening? This isn't typical. We're supposed to get 3 bans. Why do we have to ban Nico? This should just be Zeri.
Yeah, this is Zeri, right?
Yes. Gooby, it's time!
Come on, come on!
Yes! Nobody could have seen this one coming.
Oh my word. Banned in every game up until this point. As soon as it's left open, but like, yeah, of course we're going to pick it up for themselves. But for Vanir, this is a conscious choice to leave the Zeri up. This is a decision that you have opted into. If we get to 23 minutes into this game, Gooby is 7-0 one-shotting people. We're going to be asking some pretty big questions of you, Vanir.
Yes. My first question is Blitzcrank. That's a general answer that people go to for Zeri. Now, it's a little less consistent than you might like. You obviously have the dash away from Zeri to get out of it, and we'll have to wait and see whether or not Vanir if Vanir opt into it. We'll try that one again. Cassante Maokai, though, a very powerful opening from Vanir, right? They may have let through the Zeri, but they've picked themselves up some mighty fine tools in response.
Yeah. So if we are looking at counters to the Zeri in the bot lane, you talked about the Blitzcrank, but Twitch has also been kind of one of those champions that has been rising to priority. I know there is a Trinity Force Twitch build that is going around that apparently does disgusting amounts of damage. Maybe that's the sauce that Vanir are cooking with.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, Middlecourt. I'm more than here for a Twitch game if we get to see that from Liam Cole. Typically, he's defaulted to the Aphelios, and it's looked good. We saw a Seraphine game from him, but this Aphelios wouldn't be completely out of left field. It does just get locked in. I'm still here for the Twitch. I wanna really give you credit, because that is the secret sauce that should have been used here. And if I'm a fan who's not objectively thinking about how to win the game, I would have liked to see them pick Twitch.
But they didn't pick Twitch.
No, because they want to win the game and they think Aphelios is better. So,
well, I mean, Liam Cole has been doing some really disgusting things on it, right? But Verdant, I feel like they've recognised that, kind of want to shut him down here. The Vi Rakan is such a great pairing for getting access onto that backline.
And of course, when you are the Aphelios, you are relying very heavily on your team to be able to support you, or at the very least buy space, so that you don't get absolutely wham-bam thank-you-ma'am by the likes of Taxa Wendell when they end up taking their ultis to your backline. Now, second banning phase from Vanir here looks very good. They're banning away bad matchups for the Cassante. The Gwen is just premier, top-tier, #1 must-ban. Maybe get rid of Nila's Jax as well if you're thinking about something that could also go poorly for you in that top side. And when we were talking about the fact we wanted to see Kitano play a carry in that top lane, Cassante not our immediate go-to for that, but it's worth saying that can also be flexed into the mid lane, and Harbo has been playing very facilitatory for this Vanir team so far this split.
Yeah, we're seeing the damage coming out from the side lanes. Harbo is sort of the person getting things started, making it happen. But I just love this. You have to respect Nila's champion pool. Even though he hasn't been pulling out the carries, you still got to get rid of that Gwen, because like you said, great matchup into the Cassante, and I don't want to give Nile a good matchup into anything. Interesting to see Verdant banning away a couple of these hook-based supports coming out of the bot lane with the Nautilus and the Thresh taken off the board.
You'll notice that Vanir banned every other enchanter that exists, so Verdant, they're like, oh, well, I mean, we could double down. We could go Karma, we could go Soraka. They end up taking away some enchanters instead. I actually really like this Tahm Kench pick. This is a really powerful answer to a Vi in particular. It just acts as Xayatl for anybody on the team. If your Tahm Kench is in range, that's the important caveat, because obviously if your Tahm Kench is in Narnia, then what good is an ulti going to do for you? So with this pickup of the Tahm Kench, they also have a fairly powerful 2 versus 2 in the laning phase as well. Tahm Kench's base stats actually quite high for trying to take these trades, so I'd expect to see Vanir, try and put down a bit of pressure in the early game.
I don't know, Rudu. I look at Tahm Kench Ultimate, and every time I see it, I'm thinking, is it worth it? Because, yes, Liam Cole might be able to survive some dive, but he's going to come out covered in, like, Tahm Kench spit and his spindle grace. It doesn't seem like a great idea.
Like, how eerie must that be?
Just not enjoyable, really. Verdant here drafting possibly two of the most boring champions in existence.
Did you watch Verdant last split? Hello?
I mean, right, they were very good for them, but this is standard stuff. This is what I expect from them, right?
Yeah. If you could blind a 5 versus 5 composition, this is exactly what Verdant would pick. And the funny thing is they get enemy champions to pick as well. It may not feel like they've got everything from their draft that they want, but honestly, I kind of think that they have. So Verdant here have got a lot of comfort. They have got all the tools to be able to take this game, and it is going to be up to Vanir to upset that expectation. They have also drafted themselves, I'm not going to say overwhelmingly standard, because that Tahm Kench is a little bit atypical, but the rest of this composition, it also feels quite like we could have seen this in any sort of situation. There's nothing that's particularly unique about these compositions. There's nothing that's scarily wild either, so
and that worries me somewhat, because if Vanir are confident enough that they can beat the Zeri without necessarily having to pull out something weird, then it talking about a pretty strong team here. And I guess because of this enchant focus that they did do with that first phase of bans, you haven't necessarily got something as disgusting as a Yuumi Lulu or a Zeri Lulu pairing, right?
That's true. And then obviously the Rakan has his own, quote, enchanter spells, right? You can shield your Zeri, and yes, that's a very good tool to keep the Zeri alive, but we're expecting this Wendell Rakan to be diving forward with Taxa, with Nilla, causing chaos for Liam Cole and Harbo. I like that they've picked themselves up a second carry as well in that mid lane, the Victor, something that we didn't particularly touch on, but very notorious mid lane matchup, the Victor versus the Azir, a tale as old as time. If we can plug and play a Corki into either of these then we're right back at home. So when you've got this Victor, you have that secondary carry. It's much like what we said in the second game of the day, where if you take down one of these carries, the second one is going to have to step up.
Yeah, and it's also going to be providing a lot of zone control from Vanir. That gravity field, in conjunction with the existence of Maokai, means that if Vanir are able to get on objectives first, despite the dive that Verdant have, it's still going to be difficult for them to move forward.
I do think this top lane is going to be difficult for Kitano. This is actually like that gauntlet of fire for seeing if he can match up with the best of the top laners that we've got in the NLC. He's been given a pretty difficult challenge in this first game. I think that Null versus Cassante is going to go quite easily for Nilly. If he dodges out on that Q3, more than happy to see this Null run away with things. And we saw Nilly in numerous NLC games in the previous season use this Gnar and use the ulti specifically to great effect, slamming teams into walls and turning team fights that had no right going Verdant's way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why we talk about him as being one of the best players in the region. But looking across the board here at what Taxa's going to be doing in the early stages, right? For Verdant here, I'm seeing scaling coming out of the mid lane and the ADC. Is his job to go into these lanes, try and get them a little bit further ahead? Or is he fine to just chill a little bit, try and use his impact in these skirmishes around mid-game?
I think, once again, level 6 for Vi is going to be really powerful. You have got, when you hit 6 on Azir plus Vi, you're just going to kill mid lane over and over again. This is a really difficult lane for the Victor to play out post level 6. I would like to see Tax actually, like, full clear, find a gank timer after you've got up to, like, level 3, level 4. If you burn the Victor's flash, when you hit level 6, the gank plays itself. It is just all too easy to swoop in with a cease and desist, knock back with the Azir ulti, and you just kill the Victor. It is a very simple 2 versus 2 for them to play out, and that adds that element of priority on PPBat as well, to be in the right place at the right time to stop his top side, or to stop his midsection of the map from crumbling.
Yeah, and I am interested to keep a track of him, because it did feel like there's been a little bit of lack of proactivity from him in a couple of the previous games. Obviously, still strong scaling on the Vanir side, so doesn't need to get things massively going again on the Maokai. Doesn't need to get things massively going in the early game. But that combo that you mentioned in mid lane is particularly worrying for me from the side of Vanir, because Nita is a very, very good player. And so if there's someone that's going to be able to take Harbo low and really set up for those plays, it's Verdant's mid laner.
And I also quickly, because this is a little strange as well, want to touch on that Knight has opted lethal tempo on the Azir. Now, there was a change back in the, I'll say, beginning-ish of Season 13, where Riot said, please max W on Azir. It is better. And with the lethal tempo here as well, it adds a lot to the scaling and to the team fighting that Niter is going to have. It means that his laning phase is a little weaker. It's not something like the Electrocute, like a Comet, like an Airy, that you might see for a bit more pressure in the laning phase. But as we get later on into this game, Niter becomes an even bigger threat than a late game Azir already was.
I love this in the bot lane. A little bit of scrapping between mostly Wendell and Garfield there, just trying to gain advantage of the lane. Level 2, such an important spike, especially for a champion like Tomcat. You can actually play a little bit more aggressive than you'd otherwise expect him to. Gooby going to be ignited and shot in the head a fair few times. That Q from Liam Cole hits. We are looking at first blood in the bot lane. Yeah,
important dodge there from Gooby, and honestly, strange that we don't see them respect the level 2. Really saddened that they have to burn Ghost there and don't just say, okay, you got level 2, we should back away right now. It's fairly simple, rudimentary bot lane mechanics, and they get punished rightfully for it. Garfield burns the Ignite, and a massive lane lead now should be opened up for Vanir. Would have liked to have actually seen PP make his way down here on the spot side, skip a couple camps, and really punish the Zeri.
Yeah, I mean, is already level 3 on the Maokai, so could opt to make that move over. Gooby still has access to the flash, though, and we've seen a fair few bot lane dives today go awry, Rudu, so I wouldn't be surprised.
This gank is too easy, though. If you just twisted advance, like you twisted advance, what's Gooby doing? He's flashing with the Maokai. Yeah, I think it's a missed opportunity from Vanir, honestly. I'm just going to, and that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, I think Liam Cole, Garfield might be trying to set up something for themselves there as Gibby and Wendell just maintain the lane outside of their tower. Taxa has finished clearing all of his own jungle. He's making his way towards that topside Rift Skull.
I'm happy that we're keeping our attention, though, down on this bot side of the map, because this wave pushing away from Verdant is actually devastating. Just as PP is finishing up his clear on this bot side, he may well be able to forego his recall to make sure that he can put a little bit more pressure down on this bot side. The wave is pushing out from Gooby and Wendell, so they have to do something to either force a crash against the 2v2 that they're losing, or just sort of sack a really bad base and then have a really awful lane for the remainder of the laning phase.
PP turning up in mid lane. Having a little bit of a wander around. He sees the respawn is going to come through on those Raptors and he's going to head himself over. Niter spots out where the Maokai is and can't spend too long here. Taxa already taken that reset and is going to be able to rejoin, but PP gets out intact.
And of course, with the bot lane finally pushing in, it means that there was a world where that collapse could have come through. And this is exactly what I was looking for from Taxa, right? You hit that level 4!
Ooh, no vision in the Bosch, but is still able to interrupt the recall coming out from PP. And considering that he still hasn't taken his first reset, the longer that you can keep this Maokai on the map, the better for you for Verdant.
I love these pings on the minimap as well. Taxa saying, you steal my Raptors, no, I steal yours. Immediately crosses through mid lane, intent declared. Thank you very much, I'll take those, and he's got Nilla on that top side forcing forward as well. He wants to stick around in this top side jungle, he's going to have every right to do so.
Yeah, you can see the ward there placed just by that Krog camp from Nilla, so Verdant going to be having information on where PP is moving, and so you can see the level of control that this team is able to just exert in small scenarios, despite the fact that goal at the top of the screen, basically even, you can already see Verdant trying to find these advantages in small ways.
You can see Vanir just keeping, their self in check with Verdant through these early game. I'm quite happy that the bot lane obviously went quite well through the early stages. Gooby and Wendell were able to recover. They were able to force a good crash and managed to get a reset. Tier 2 boots early for Zeri, a necessity for the Zeri. Your Q cooldown scales off of your attack speed, and when you get those Berserker Greaves early on, it means that you can sort of play the game like you would for the remainder. It feels awful after just having... When you've played a Zeri game and you go back-to-back in solo queue, you go back to not having tier 2 boots, and you just feel so slow, so robotic almost. And those tier 2 boots really are such an upgrade.
Yeah, you don't want to be sluggish on that champion at all. Movement speed, getting around the map as quickly as you can, getting around fights as quickly as you can. Your real modus operandi. Dragon has just spawned, and Vanir are having a few members cheating towards it. Garfield just here trying to ensure that Harbo can get this shove out without being punished.
Yeah, I mean, we've got PP back there as well. They are putting a lot of effort into making sure that Harbo's crash is successful. We know that level 6 for Niter is that window where flashes are going to start to get burned if you're dashing aggressively in. Harbo has that flash ready. The job for Taxa was to try and burn that earlier on. It was spent recuperating a little bit. The early game was spent making sure that he got A, his full clear, and then B, traded off with those Raptors that we saw stolen away from PPBat. So there's a little bit of extra safety for this Victor. A gank at this juncture probably means a flash burn as opposed to first blood, but with the amount of pressure that they've been able to establish through the bot lane as well, there was a window for them to walk toward that dragon. Didn't end up starting it up, and you can see Wendell just sort of hovering now between mid lane and bot lane.
And I think the win here for Vanir is that the lanes are all kind of doing fine. Right, as much attention as Verdant have put towards this mid lane. Harbo, even on CS with Naito, Liam Cole, even with Gooby, and top lane is going fine as well. Vanir, you can't be complaining really, can you?
Not at the minute. Their scaling is also solid. They've got Cassante for late game DPS. Yep, I said that and I meant it. They've got Liam Cole and Harbo also. Your more traditional carries to come through in the later stages of the game. Although they may now be in a little bit of trouble. Tax is here with level 6 and the wave is just a bit too far forward.
Wendell is here without level 6 and Rakan quite squishy, especially when Garfield is running this hail of blades on the Tarm Cage. So if you get in range of him, he's going to be able to blow you up, auto you a bunch of times, get that stun, and it's so difficult for you to get out.
Oh, Harbo.
Engaged on in the mid lane, but PPBat is here to back him up, and Vanir, they read the play and they respond beautifully. First blood for Garfield, and Nitro has to get out of there.
Harbo, the nerves of steel, has flashed the whole time, never once expends it, knows how valuable that summoner spell is going to be the more that Taxa looks toward this mid lane, and a really good move from the bot lane of Vanir. Now going to look to interrupt some recalls as well. Gooby is the important one. If Wendell gets back to base, it's not a big deal, but stopping this series timer definitely hers.
Great stuff for Vanir then, as PPBat is eventually going to be able to take down this dragon. Taking his sweet time with it, but again, this is something else in your back pocket. He doesn't do objectives quickly. It's not what the champion's for.
No, and I'm just checking my Zeri timer here. Ooh,
yep.
Okay. So, Gooby, he's got himself a Sheen. Ooh, okay, hold on. Wendell.
Has the flash. Has a lot of dashes. Is going to get eaten up, though. Vanir committing a lot to try and kill this Rakan. They're going to be successful. Gooby knocked up by Garfield, flashing away himself, popping the ghost too. And Vanir, the last minute or so, they put so much focus down into the spot lane, and it's really starting to pay dividends.
I don't think that Liam Cole auto-attacked anybody there, and that's not a detriment to him. That's more so a credit to how much damage the Tahm Kench Maokai duo is doing, because they killed Wendell, and they took Gooby to 30% HP. Now, I'm probably wrong. I'm pretty sure that Liam Cole probably weaved in one or two, but that's still a lot of damage.
Well, I'd be surprised if he didn't, but he's only sat there on the one assist, so maybe not. PPBat able to go back and pick up this this new mythic. Name escaped me right now, Rudy, but I know it's very, very good on Maokai. Great stuff.
You're welcome. I was gonna, you know what, you landed yourself there down the river. I was gonna throw you down it earlier with the component item of it, and I thought, you know what? No, I'll be nice. And then you threw yourself under the bus anyway.
I saw it and I was like, do you know what? This is cool. It's a really high value item. It's really gold efficient, provides a lot of buffs for your team, helps enable the other damage to come up from these members of Vanir that are getting themselves into good positions. And I can remember all of that, rude dude. But I couldn't remember the damn name.
No, they forgot to update the manual. It's okay. You'll get it in the next patch. Now, this Even Shroud, obviously, as you highlighted, it enables single target pick, and when there's a Zeri on the enemy team, that's good.
Yeah, but this is not good for PPBat. He's dead.
Maybe Wendell's dead too. Let's see.
Chaos Storm is dropping down. Garfield is going to throw his tongue over the ball. Surely. Ops
for reference, he should have not done it. That was correct for him to not int into 3 people right there. I'll give him credit where it's due, but it would have been funny. Would have been good content. Probably not what Vanir are playing for. Maybe would prefer the win as opposed to, you know, one caster favorite vote. That's about it.
Yeah, and do you know what? They're setting themselves up in a pretty good position to get that win, right? This is a very good early game coming out for themselves.
And you can see now with this level 9 wave clear for the Victor, plus the early takedown that he got, actually able to have an upgraded laser means that wave clearing is now infinitely easier. We're seeing a little bit of pressure exerted down on that bot side. Oh my god.
With a flash, Wendell there.
What on earth?
Punishes the over-aggression. He saw that reset come through. He got baited in, pays the price.
That is the... If Garfield waits 0.1 seconds longer, or if Gooby is... Or if Wendell is like 0.5 seconds faster, that doesn't happen. I already know that, like, if we toggle the vision and watch a replay, Garfield does that when it's a 1v2. It's just the second he does it, Wendell appears.
PP back, blast cone over the way. I'm not sure that Gooby knows that the Maokai is here. Gets that root, a little bit of knockback, and Liam Cole opening up with the ult, gets the kill for himself. Vanir, proactive plays again in the bot lane, getting themselves fed.
And that is why you don't base on a ward. There's a pink ward in that brush. Gooby would have seen it. Disrespect. Really nice punish, though, from Vanir, stopping this Zeri scaling, not allowing her to get to this Trinity Force as soon as she might have liked. Now, Verdant, they are making a productive play on the flip side. They're taking out this probably full turret with this Herald and funneling a lot of gold into their top lane superstar.
Yeah, and...
Oh, not as much, though.
It's not going to be enough to take down that tower in time before the bottom lane falls. So, yes, it is still a lot of gold onto Nilla. But for the first time this split, I think he's going to have to really step up to overcome the bot lane differential that has emerged.
And that's not a bad thing. That's definitely within the realms of possibility as well. We have seen Nilla overperform time and time again. Just might be the first time that he has to do it this season. Because as you mentioned, Middlecott, Liam Cole and Garfield had the better of this 2 versus 2. Gooby Wendell have not been able to perform as well as their counterparts. And there's a CS lead, there's a turret lead, there's an item disparity. Right now, if Vanir want to win, they move Liam Cole around the map.
Ooh, Nita going very aggressive. Just looking for an ult back there onto Harbo. But I think kind of regardless of the result of this game, Rue, I'm hoping that what Vanir have shown in the bottom lane is going to inspire a few of our NLC teams. You don't just need to ban the Zeri on the red side.
Oh, you're so wrong. You're so wrong.
Well, I suppose this isn't really the point of the game where the Zeri gets properly scary. Kitano having the camera on him for the first time in a while, and it's not going to be showing some particularly pleasant things. Has the all-out available. He's going to use it to try and take down Taxa, but not good enough damage at this stage.
I like the theory there. There's a world where Kitano can use the wall, actually, to take Taxa to the Netherrealm and then end up trying to escape with the rest of his spells. Not quite able to find the distance on it. It's good positioning from Taxa and Nilla not to give that option over. Now, it did end up sacrificing a dragon. It's the second one of the game that goes the way of Vanir, and with our Mountain Drake on the board, the double tank line of PP Bat plus Kitano, gonna feel a little more obliged to head toward these Drake fights.
Yeah, and whilst we have been talking very sort of highly of Vanir, the game is even.
Yeah.
Right, dude. It's not like Verdant haven't really been able to activate themselves. Nita now got that Leandri's Taxa here with a Black Cleaver to complement Nilla's Trinity Force as well. This top side in particular getting very, very strong for the team in green.
And the reason that it's even is actually because this top side is ahead, right? There's a disparity on both sides of the map, just favoring different teams. Liam Cole is ways ahead of Gooby versus Kitano, who's actually quite far behind versus, or rather the whole top side, I suppose, for Vanir. PP Bat and Kitano are just behind versus Nilla and Taxa. That's the Coalfields Warhammer coming through, which gives me the little leverage to make that point stick. But you can see disparity between these items, maybe not a lot, but definitely enough for this Gnar to feel like he can maybe make a move into this bot side. And with Kitano forced into these really long lanes, him stepping up, it hurts.
And at that point, the team that is going to end up winning is the team that is able to get their point of strength and point it against the enemy's weakness. Get that gold, get that advantage, and point it where your opponent isn't going to be able to stand strong against it.
Both of these tier 1 turrets standing fairly strong, it's worth saying, and you can see that every single mid wave, the teams converge, they collapse, they give pressure to Liam and Gooby respectively, and they say, okay, we need to make sure that you farm this wave safely, and then we can move in and make our play on the map. They get about 20 seconds where they can make a play happen. Vanir's play this time is to opt into the Rift Herald. On the other side, Vanir, they're playing for a bot lane tier 1.
Yeah, Vern should be able to take that one down. I've been impressed with how many of these early objectives PP Bat has actually been able to pick up for himself. Taxa got that first Rift Herald, but the second looks like it's going to be going in favor of the Vanir jungler. Kitano needs to be careful here. Verdant could be setting up for a dive.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, Verdant, Vanir, went one wave too early for this Rift Herald play. They sort of sacrificed a bit too much from their bot side. It looked like Verdant were going to go for a play on that bot side. They've instead translated back to this mid lane. They might be able to translate it into an attempt onto Liam Cole's life. Now, we haven't seen it come to fruition just yet, but remember, Garfield's ulti here, the Devour, very powerful at preventing dive. It's why this champion was picked. It's great into Nilla, it's great into Taxa, and it's great into Wendell when they try and dive on the Aphelios. Yeah,
if you can keep this guy alive, then he's going to be able to put out so much damage. But the longer this game goes, the more I get concerned for Vanir, because Gooby, he's got one item here on the Zeri. The breakpoint...
FF.
I mean, the breakpoint seems to be 3 right now when this champion just turns into something that you can't contest at all. But you need to be building up a stronger lead before that, so she doesn't just get that 3-item core and wipe the next team fight.
No, you're exactly right. And I think that one of the weakness, I will then say, of Zeri is that other ADCs spike sooner now. In Season 13, 2-item spikes are all the rage, because typically you go for your Noon Quiver item as your first one, and then second of all is your Mythic. It's exactly what we're seeing from Liam Cole here. He's opting into a Gale Force on 2, and he's got that Kraken Slayer also. When these 2 items hit, he does better than Gooby, pound for pound. Now, obviously, the slippery nature of a Zeri means that you can probably be a bit more active in a team fight. You can weave in and out a little bit easier than an Aphelios has nature or has typically been able to perform at. But that 3-item spike is the window.
Yeah, and I guess this puts Vanir in a pretty decent position when you look at the Drakes, right? Because they're able to enforce a win condition against Verdant before it's likely that Gooby is going to be on that 3-item point. Mounted Drake spawning in 50 seconds. If Vanir pick that one up, then they've got a soul in 5 minutes.
And it's a powerful soul as well. We touched on the 3 items for Zeri. None of them contain a Lord Dominic's Regard. So it means that cutting through these tanks does get a little bit more difficult, and if there's a Mountain Soul on top of that as well, certainly becomes more challenging for Gooby to have as much agency in these team fights as we'd expect for him to on that window.
But for Verdant, they're the ones getting the first move towards this dragon, recognizing that Vanir already got a couple of them, and they don't want to give any more over. Kitano, I think 50% of his HP in damage.
No, he does have TP as well, so he can go back to base if he wants full HP for this fight. The other option as well is to remember that he can just all out, and this is about the amount of HP that he have anyway.
Yeah, Rifto, we're going to get summoned in the mid lane. Vanir looking at Verdant, saying, if you want to take the Drake, we're going to take this tower. But Verdant don't seem too happy with that trade. Nilla is going to get caught out and is able to go mega, knocks back one, PP back Wendell, trying to dive into the backline, but he's going to get caught by Kitano. It's Vanir finding the first 2 kills of the fight, and it's Verdant running for their lives. Gooby still able to fire out with the burst fires, but he's now going to get rooted by Liam Cole. Shot in the head as well. Nita still in a relatively decent spot, but that's all that could be said for Verdant.
Team fighting going very well for Vanir. They need to translate this into an objective, though. The Drake is live. That tier 1 turret is looking like it's going to be the point that Verdant stick around at. And with Taxa nearby, no objective is ever truly safe. The objective started up by Vanir, and they're going to have to do some legwork here because Gooby's still alive. Nita, importantly, very healthy on this Azir.
Oh, he's gone over into the pits. Taxa now there as well, but this is an outnumbered situation. The teleport is going to come through, but Taxa is already dead. No steals are going to be coming through from Verdant, but they're going to kill everyone else instead. Crucially, PP Bat able to take the Drake, but Harbo running for the hills on low mana. Wendell going past him over the wall to kill Garfield, but the Victor still alive, still running away, but gets hit by the tower shot to feed a double over to Nita. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, Rudude, I don't know who's happier with that.
It's definitely Verdant. We've broached 20 minutes middle cut. They're going to head straight toward that Baron. They have Liandry's Anguish Azir. WMAX ready to go. He's got so much attack speed to cut through this big purple worm. Tax is going to be able to respawn, make his way over here to secure the smite. Yes, they got themselves the Drake, but Vanir, they are going to pay a very hefty toll.
TP is available for Kitano, but there is no way that Vanir will be able to move over to this Baron. So Verdant, with the first epic objective, epic buff of the game, gonna look to take some towers now.
And I think eyes now on Nilla on this Gnar. Has built himself up a Black Cleaver, got that Trinity Force. This is very much split push oriented and very much focused at stopping Kitano from being able to handle him in a side lane. If Nilla can move up to this top side, break open that second tier, or break open that tier 2, it's already very low from an earlier Rift Herald play that Verdant made. It's going to be a lot of gold into the Gnar, and with this pickaxe as well, it could very well be Hullbreaker getting finished off. That, in tandem, makes a very hefty Gnar to try and cut through.
Yeah, and honestly, looking at the side of Vanir, it's difficult to see someone who's going to be able to match if he does go down that itemization route. Vanir, fishing for an engage in the mid lane.
The worst engage that a Tom Kench can do. Just W forward, miss everybody, and blatantly so.
Just pops up from nowhere. You've got to stick the tongue out as well, just to say hi to people. But definitely one of the goofier engages that if it doesn't work, it just looks a bit weird.
My favourite is Alistair when he forgets to press W or isn't in range to press W and just slams his head in the floor in frustration.
I hate the ground so much. It's making me really, really angry. Verdant, they're going to raise this mid lane tower. Kitano offering some defense and able to pull back Nile, but not quite into tower range.
Now remember, Liam Cole is not weak. He's 2-0-2 and he has got a couple of finished items. That Kraken Slayer and Gale Force now ready to go. A lot of DPS to pump out if people are sticking around. And with this Infernum as well, it's a very good job at stopping the turret from falling, clearing out those minions being the leading reason.
Not quite going to be able to find any members of Verdant.
Strike
with that
one.
Nature's Grasp. Didn't even have to burn any defensive summoners, really, for Verdant, right?
No, exactly. I mean, I'll say they don't particularly have the defensive summoners to burn. Gooby has got Ghosts, so maybe that could have been pulled from Vanir if they'd have put a little more aggressive nature into it, but it's not really about this mid lane.
No.
Nile doing great work down on the bot lane versus Kitano, and Naita as well. One level up over Harbo in the side lane that has been designated to him. The Rylix Crystal Scepter finished as well, keeping everybody even slower walking through those soldiers, potentially an extra auto attack to claim if they end up walking through. And they even managed to get the mid-tier 1. So this Baron for Verdant has been absolutely wonderful in terms of not just leveling up their economy, but pushing it to be very far ahead of Vanir's as well.
Very efficient usage as the final few seconds of it are going to fall away. Haven't broken the base, but I believe, Rude Dude, that's a pretty damn good economy Baron that we've seen here.
Did you make that one up yourself? That's a really good term.
Ooh, I don't know. I think I'll let you use it a few times if you want, all right, bro?
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. The fabled middle economy Baron. Now, with them taking, obviously, a lot of gold on the map, they now need to try and utilize that for some fights. Where are we going to see those fights? It's in 1 minute's time. It's at that Mountain Soul, where Vanir have got Soul Point, but I think that a rough team fight here could very quickly lead into Vanir's demise, a really swift downfall. Because if they lose this fight, it means that gold lead balloons again a little bit further, and it definitely makes the comeback and the notion of any fight later on even more difficult.
It's that situation where you don't necessarily have another 5 minutes to play for Soul if you don't get this dragon.
Yeah, if this fight goes poorly, the game probably looks a lot worse than even if you went for a fight here that comes out even. Now, trying to set up vision around this bot side, they have got Maokai to check for saplings. They've got Cassante to be very immovable on that front line. Unfortunately, there's no MR on this Cassante just yet, right? Kitano's got the scraps that you get from your mythic item, but outside of that, there's an Azir with Void Staff and 3 items plus Liandry's being one of them, means that he's going to cut through this Cassante exceptionally quickly.
Level 16 for Naita as well, has quietly had a very strong game for himself. Vanir able to grab at mid lane priority, but this does give Verdant position on the dragon, and they are doing that mighty quickly. It doesn't look like Vanir going to be able to get in time, but Verdant, they peel away from the Drake. They don't want to be DPSing it down, and Vanir look a little bit confused about how to respond to that situation. Kitano, half HP Wendell, trying to find something in the backline, but he gets stunned himself. But once again, Vanir will kill the enemy support at the start of the team fight. Nile throwing 2 back, but it's Verdant again on the run, and Vanir desperately attempted to get something more. PP Bat following the flash into the backline, takes down the Mininar as Gooby is kiting for his life, skating over the wall, and Verdant have maybe bought themselves enough time. Naita with the pushback on that Maokai to keep himself alive, and now he rejoins the fight. Kitano is so damn low. Gooby still firing out the autos. A double kill for the Azir, and Verdant have turned it around. They take the engage from Vanir, and they shove it right back. A triple kill, but Liam Cole is still not done. Gale forcing forward to pick up one at the very back end, but the level differential is going to be too much for the Aphelios to conquer. A shutdown for Naita, and a delayed quadra kill for the Verdant mid laner.
Wonderful performance from Naita. Sticks himself right where he needs to be in that team fight. Shoves back PP back when he dives forward, and is that DPS source that Verdant were missing. Gooby had a rough early game, but during that team fight was playing beautifully as well. manages to keep himself alive at every given juncture. Anybody that dives forward, he's just one step further back. Manages to go forward as well, uses his dash and flash aggressively to try and take people out. Not quite managing to finish off Harbo, but winning team fight for Verdant, and this is the worst case scenario for Vanir. We said that team fight right there was going to be make or break. If they could win this and take the soul, they had a stay of execution. They had a really big chance, honestly, at being able to take future team fights, but now they have to survive another 5 minutes up against a team that is very likely to get this Baron.
But very likely is not certain. PPVAT doesn't have the flash, but Garfield could still get into the pit. Vanir, I think, just playing for the post play, but I can't lock enough people down to go for that, and Verdant were able to pick up that Baron and able to get away.
All right, as the expert on Baron middle cop, they've had their economy Baron. What comes next? What's the goal for this one?
I reckon the Nexus has got to be the next target, Rudu.
Oh, okay. I mean, we've skipped a few steps, but I like where the end goal is. I think that just breaking open the base is the first port of call. Likelihood is that they can get the Nexus, though. I don't disagree with you in that. They can very easily take this game if they find another fight, but their goal for this Baron should be to break open the base. And if the game comes with it, then obviously, you know, oh dear.
Oh, PPVAT has just tried to walk back to his mid lane tower. Is not going to be allowed to. Garfield very close to getting charmed by the Ricard there, but shall not happen. Verdant playing on 2 lanes at the moment. Nille getting the shove out mid lane in him tower, also being focused down.
Yeah, breaking open the base seems like a formality, Middlecott. I think your version of the Nexus may look a little more likely here. 2 inhibitors going to fall at the very minimum. They don't have a wave in the top side, so Verdant are just going to play for the end if they're looking to stick about in this base. 15 seconds still on PPVAT, and with the waves looking to crash at about the same time, they've got about 5 seconds before the Maokai respawns with ulti to make the last stand effort for Vanir.
Vanir have shown some good stuff in these last few team fights, but Verdant don't seem like they're going to give them the opportunity. Here comes PPVAT back on the reset. The Nexus towers are off the board. There is very little preventing Verdant from ending this game. Vanir going for one last gasp engage. They're able to shut down Wendell again as Nille is trying to kite away. Kitano not going to get pushed back by Naito, but still going to get taken down by Gooby. The key carries for Verdant are still alive. The engage from Vanir was not enough as it's a double kill for Gooby. PPVAT will try and get one back, but he won't. It was Naito in the last team fight. It's Gooby in this one. No quadra kill. Scumbag Taxa steals that one away. But Verdant get another win, put themselves to 3-1.
Well,
applause
what a game.
For Taxa necessary. What
a bounce back.
We cannot allow more Zeri Pentas. So Taxa just doing his best work possible. Middlecop, I don't know if you need to refresh your cam, but there's something.
That's just unfortunately. Regular... That's just your facial expression.
That's just what I look like. Honestly, that game was so wild that it has actually broken my cam.
Your face right now, this is going on Twitter, I don't care. My face when Zeri gets let through a draft. That's exactly what this is. And this game, perfect example.
Absolutely a perfect example here. Are you going to give your MVP to Gooby then, Rudu? Or is it going to be Niter in the mid lane with those like insane team fights?
Yeah, I definitely want to head more towards Niter. I think that Gooby had a really rough early game, and Liam Cole Garfield getting 2v2 kills probably doesn't warrant the MVP going to Gooby. I'm more than happy to give it to Niter though, because he performed admirably.
Yeah, and for me as well, I think that the interesting thing for me about the way Niter played this game was understanding of how he had to operate in the 1-3-1, as well as how he had to operate in team fights. Do you agree with that sentiment, Rudy?
I do.
I mean, we're just laughing.
I'm sorry. Middlecop's face is just too good. It's such a good freeze frame. If you ever want to know what we look like when we're casting, this is it.
Just staring intently at the screen.
I mean, the best thing is like,
I'm sorry.
I just said that like the understanding that like Nyla showcased in terms of being able to navigate the 1-3-1 after the initial Baron, then his insane team fighting around that Soul Point Dragon fight as well really kind of highlighted the ability that he has as a mid laner.
Yeah, I'm definitely here for it. Middlecott, you've been sent to the Netherrealm. You know,
I just don't exist. I am a voice in the ether that is not represented by any real physical form.
There's no corporeal Middlecott. But Witter, to enter your point, I really want to touch on how well Verdant played that post Baron minute, the first first Baron that they got, and you know the economy Baron that they used it for, because they managed to take two tier 2 turrets in a side lane and a mid lane tier 1. That ballooning of gold meant that every single team fight afterwards was exceptionally difficult for Vanir, and had that Baron have not gone over to Verdant, it would have been a completely different game. They would have not had all of this gold to work with, and it's worth saying as well that lesser teams wouldn't have got that much gold from that Baron. This was specifically Verdant having as much coordination and as much sort of infrastructure, I think, knowing what to do when they get this position. But
I think from my point of view, there's also Vanir to talk about in this game. They had good looks, and there were so many of those team fights, even when we were getting to the very, very later stages of the game, where it was Vanir that would find that first pick, and it would just be a case of them getting kited out by the Azir, being kited out by the Zeri. Please take me seriously, guys. I promise I am talking about things that are legit and make sense, okay?
This is MVP observing right now. Our producer, Fraser, bless them, they thought, okay, the game's done. My job now, it gets a lot easier. Nope, now I've got to act like Middlecott's an animate person. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that, like, again, as we were talking about the whole Baron here, right? The fact that there was so much early Dragon priority from Vanir, and eventually it just ended up kind of, like, biting them in the back to a certain extent, right? Because we were talking about how strong that 2v2 in the bot lane was, and they got so much for it until that Dragon fight.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think that it was the Dragon stacking that bit them so much. It was the fact that they lost that one crucial fight, and they maybe they focused a little too much on it, to your point. Maybe they spent a little too much resources securing the Dragon as opposed to setting themselves up for the fight. But those Drake takes, in the first two at the very least, were absolutely through. They had the winning bot lane, they had the stronger side of the map down there to secure it for themselves. And I don't feel like Nilla's side lane split push was winning enough on the other side of the map to make me say, oh, you know, they focused way too much on Drake. So look what Nilla got, and look at how powerful he was. Don't get me wrong, Nilla was very serviceable and very powerful as a top laner for this game, but he wasn't the reason that they ended up losing, and it wasn't the cross-mapping from Verdant in the early game that got him to that point.
Anything you want to add to that, Middlecott?
No, as someone that no longer exists, all of my words are channeled through Rudude. I've imparted that information into his brain, and so he really speaks for the both of us, I think, in that situation.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, in general, this overall, this day, Rudude, I think it's been a... Have you been happy with this day overall as your first day on the NLC for the split, or are you annoyed at teams? What's going on?
No,
what's
I really
going
have, honestly. I came into today expecting a lot of close games, and I said this to Middlecott in the green room. I'm actually a little reversed on how I thought these games were going to go, because we had 3 stomps today, and we had 1 really close game. I came into today expecting 3 stomps to begin with, or 3 really close games to begin with, and then Verdant to come away and slam this last game. That didn't happen at all. Vanir put up a really good fight, and the first 3 games were kind of one-sided. So as far as my expectations versus how it happened, couldn't be more shocked, but equally, those types of games and that level of competition in the NLC is exactly what I'm after, because also, as we'll see with my predictions, I predicted that things went the opposite way than they did.
I mean, unlike me, I think I'm 4-4 today,
You're
actually.
Prophet.
So,
you were winning.
I am just, you know, you're just all living in my world, apparently. I just come in as the newest edition, and then I'm just winning the predictions race. I mean, that is, I'm just naturally born talent in that way, I suppose, Rudude. We do have an interview ready here with the Zeri King himself. Gooby, how are we feeling today?
Yeah, it's been
a good day. Did you hear my initial
day.
question? Okay, great.
I heard it. Can you hear me?
So, I can hear you very well, my friend.
Okay.
So, Zeri made it through draft.
Yeah, I mean, we were happy, but I think maybe we gave them too much of what they wanted. That's why they could put up such a good fight against us. I think we played a calm game, but the AD is kind of an affiliate one trick, and we gave it to him, but he's actually good on it, so we struggled a bit.
Yeah, so the compromises in the draft were almost too big for you guys to really come into, like, to secure the victory. I feel like up until that 3rd Dragon and the fight that followed after that, you guys were really on the back foot. Kind of take us through how that was for you until you turned the game around mentally in the team.
I mean, obviously we have a lot of experience, so we're very calm we know we had the scaling draft this time compared to yesterday, so we knew that we could give the first 3 and fight the 4th, and we should win it. It went a bit south in the start, but then we made the Nida play and turned it back around. Yeah, and after that we knew we would probably take it home cleanly with the Nash and stuff like that. So
you didn't leave. I will agree. You didn't leave a lot of room for error in the way that you closed out the game with the second Baron. I think that you played that out relatively cleanly from my understanding here as well. Any closing notes that you wanna share here on your 1-1 week? I know you guys were hoping for a 2, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, probably just sorry to the fans for yesterday. It was a bit of a fluke, but we tried some stuff out. Didn't work, so we will practice it for next time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Gooby, and yet again, congratulations on your victory.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to be going directly into the next interview here with the Aphelios one trick is what Gooby is calling you, Liam Cole. How are you going to take that statement?
Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate, I would say.
Awesome. So you have had a pretty rough week, I think it's safe to say. How has it been? Like yesterday, you tried out some funky stuff with the Seraphine bot lane, I believe. And today you got back onto the Aphelios. Like, what happens if teams just start banning Aphelios against you?
If teams ban Aphelios, I think they're just wasting a ban. I can also play other James.
Champion Ocean.
Not Seraphine. Seraphine is not that good.
Okay, so that's something else that is that's worth noting here. Another quick thing here. How is the mood in the camp overall after this week?
It's good. I still think it's good. Like, we don't get super tilted or anything like that. Just holding our head high for next week.
Oh, thank you. Any shout outs you want to make here before I let you go and get back to your team?
I want to say something. Merci à l'âme français de Kitano pour le soutien.
Okay, that was something about Kitano and something in French that I'm not too familiar with, but I will let that be the final statement of this interview. Thank you so much for your time, Liam Cole. Hopefully see you next week on a more positive note. So, Rudud and Middlecott from the top here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that we've had a pretty interesting day. I mean, this is just going to send me every time. But let's talk a little bit about how this day has underwent. I believe we do have our results ready. Oh, it's going to go to standings. We're going to go through the results here. And I obviously expected all these results, Rudud. But we had Natives taking down Domino, Nord taking down Fourth Wall, Roddy taking down the Unique Esports team, and then we also had Verdant taking down Vanir here to close out the game. Any result in particular that surprises you?
Both the ones in the middle. Yep. They're very surprising to me. Although, Nord after yesterday, not as surprising. But I do think that for Ruddy to take down Unique, that one certainly... I said it in the cast, they were definitely coming in as people that I was hoping to see more from, and they showed me more. So, I'm again, happy to be proven wrong, as always, and Ruddy, they did that.
Yeah, I think that's the real takeaway from this game day and for week 2 as a whole. A few of the teams that we were maybe a bit too cold on from last week doing a heck of a lot better, and some of the teams that did find success is not really working out.
I mean, I'm looking at this at the bottom of the stand here now. Domino having a 2-0 week in the first week, and then now having an 0-2 week kind of throws the standings back into like a sense of like normality to a certain extent, right? This is kind of where you'd expect Verdant and Natives to be at here. Any big surprise to you, Rudud, though, in the standings?
I don't think that Vanir are a 1-3 team. I'd like to think that Vanir could have probably picked up another win and be level at 2-2. And honestly, that's about it for me. I think that overall, from what I've seen, I genuinely think that the entire set of rosters outside of Verdant and Natives could very well have a massive tussle for the mid pack. I'm still yet to see things from Fourth Wall. I think that they're maybe edging a little closer to the bottom of that pack of 6 for me. But the rest of literally from 3rd through to 8th, I don't think is going to be easy to call for the rest of the split.
And there we have the again, as always, you guys have had a very tough job today figuring out the MVPs, and we have a lot of high kill games here. We're looking at Hito, right? 17-0 and 5. That is going to be a massive boost this KDA coming out. But remember that over on Twitter, you guys can vote for the player of the day at NLC LOL. Vladdy, Hito, Envy Carry, and Niter are the choices. Middle cut, who would you choose?
I mean, you're going to go me. I think I've mentioned it on the cast a couple of times. I'm all about these sort of redemption stories for these bot lanes coming through. So for me, Hito, I think an Aphelios game like that, the way that he performed was incredible. Got a pentakill as well, just to sort of cap off the performance. But I think the real carrying from him came before that final team fight. It was what he was able to do, not just in lane, but the entire game.
What about you, Rudu?
I mean, I have to just share my like mind with my caster. I think that Middlecott speaks for the both of us when he's both on and off screen.
And well, he is also, as he said, he did interject into your brain, so you guys are just one hive mind right now. And with that, let that be the overall closing note here. Remember that you can go and vote over on NLC LOL if you want to follow any of us lovely talent on Twitter as well. We have @Rudude1. That's the number one, not one. And then we have
Twitter,
Middlecott.
give me at Rudude, please.
and then we have Middlecott is me. I remember today, Middlecott. Are you happy? Are you proud of me?
TY bro. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And then also,
also again, please give me just Middlecott on Twitter. I've got it on Discord, okay? But I need it on Twitter, bro. I need it on Twitter.
Yes, and you can find me over at Wittercasts. And again, keep in mind that if you wanted the actual predictions, you know, it's me and Middlecott 4 out of 4 today. We are absolute predictions machines. And as well, remember, over on Twitter, as I just said, the Player of the Day vote will be found there. Remember to make your voice heard. And that is going to be all for today. Thank you very much for your participation, Rudude. Thank you so much, Middlecott. But most importantly, thank you to the viewers that are watching at home. We'll be back next Tuesday with more action from the NLC.